Yeah. Okay, Mario. You told us when we arrived in Cuba
Yeah.
some things about the situation, the good things, the bad things.
Yeah.
Can you?
Nowadays we are
Yeah.
having like big problems in Cuba related with electricity, with gas supply, water supplies. One of the biggest problems we're having nowadays is also with the garbage. They're everywhere. That's a big problem in Cuba. But you know, we Cubans, we are always like very positive, and we are always thinking that Cuba is going to be better in the near future, I hope, because right now it's complicated with the American policy to Cuba, with also with the Cuban government that they are trying, our Cuban government, they are trying to make like a big opening in our country. So for people like me that I work in tourism, now they said that I could be able to open my own travel agency. I could be the owner of several businesses. That's important as well. So that could be a good change in Cuba. That's the positive way. The negatives, I was saying, the electricity, gas supply, water, also problem with transportation. Nowadays, there are some private people, they're able to sell gasoline in Cuba, and they sell it for 1 liter, it's like $4. 4 or 5, that's
Yeah, four or
crazy.
five, I heard, yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
That's what in America they pay for a gallon, so it's twice as you pay in Europe. So it's
Yeah, exactly. It's
expensive.
because it's expensive in Europe, but not like here.
yeah, but here we don't have it. So now there are private companies who are importing this fuel, and they are selling. That's one of the new changes as well, that the Cuban government allowed private people to sell gasoline in the market. So
And that means it has, the situation is a bit better with gasoline now than it was like
for
when we arrived.
for those persons who have money, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I
The problem is that I was talking with a friend that he said I cannot pay $4 or $5 for 1 liter of gasoline. He has a very old car with an original engine, so he said I cannot afford it. So older people nowadays in Cuba, they are like new rich people, and these people, they can afford, they can pay for the gasoline, $4 or $5, no problem. But for others, it's impossible. So it's complicated. For instance, like a doctor or a teacher with the government salary, it's not enough for them to even buy gasoline. So it's complicated.
And complicated. I want to ask maybe a complicated question.
Yeah.
It's a question about what have the Cubans learned from history that will make you as Cubans be able to handle this difficult situation.
Okay, I think that we tried in the talking about history, like recent history, with the time with Obama in 2015, 16. That was very good for the Cuban population, for the Cuban government, and everybody was able to manage a way to go out, to have their own private business, private houses, own small and medium companies. They were arriving, so that was very positive. So, and it was in the near future, so in the near past. So it was like 10 years ago. But I think that in the future is an opening like with Obama. It's possible, and for Cubans will be very good. For the Cuban people, because if it's another opening like this, it will be a lot of tourism coming to Cuba. And tourism have this possibility to multiply jobs. So a tourist come to Cuba, stay in an Airbnb, and that Airbnb would pay somebody to clean the house, to make the breakfast or meals for tourists. Also transportation will be private guides, private taxis. Even the person who sells the tomatoes, for instance, for the breakfast for the tourists, will be there as well. And everybody will be earning some money.
Okay, so you're optimist about what could happen.
Yes, I'm very optimistic about what could happen in Cuba. But a big problem we're having nowadays is also with transportation regarding with airplanes. Because nowadays there are many companies that they are not coming anymore to Cuba, like big companies. So that's a problem.
Like
Because
Air
here we
France,
don't
for
have Air France, for instance. if we don't have fuel here to put in those planes, they are not coming. Because if not, they have to make a scale in Dominican Republic or in Nassau, in Bahamas, everywhere, but it's not that good for them. So that's another problem we're having with the big companies like Air France or Air Europa or to Fly, all these companies that some of them, they're still traveling to Cuba, but we really need others to come as well. And we need that fuel for the airplanes so that they can come with no problems, no scales. Yeah.
What would you say to people in the United States and Europe about coming here as a tourist?
What I will say to these people, yes, it's safe, is it okay? But always try to have a contact in place in Cuba, in Havana. When you have a contact, you have no problems, so you have no surprises. Sometimes when you come and you don't find information, you don't find a person of trust in Cuba, you could have a lot of surprises, bad surprises. So that's very important, at least for day number 1 or 2, having somebody here in the destiny, in Cuba, who can explain you how the country works, so that you have a very nice vacation. Cuba is a very beautiful country. You will enjoy a lot in our country, a lot of history, culture, and also it's good to see like real Cuba, how Cubans live, how we do. We have also very nice beaches. So Cuba as a touristic destination have a lot of potential. But this potential, we have to use it. With this person coming, yes. People talk about like blackout, but sometimes there are nowadays Cubans who are using solar panels. There are others that they live in places where they don't have that many electricity cuts. And always we find a solution, like a plan B, and it would be good for those persons coming to Cuba. Yeah,
Thank you
for
so
sure.
much, Mario.